welcome to the Centurion's Corner, and today we are upgrading Commander Cody. I think this is going to be a new sort of series where I just grab an official Hasbro off the shelf and we're going to start playing and upgrade him. So the best one to start with this one is hot off the press. It's just come out and we are more of a clone channel, I guess, than most things. And what a great place to start. Now, I don't want to take too far away from Hasbro figures. I really hate customizing Hasbro figures because people are collectors, and when figures start getting hard to get, it's just a bit of a nuisance that someone online is literally ripping it apart. That's why I always use bootlegs for most of my customs. But with Cody, I kind of want to upgrade him, put enough care into him that I would do. I get it, it's a £20 figure. We're not going to get all the paint applications on there. It's not going to be 100% correct, but it's down to us and our duty to really kind of just bring him up, bring that Hasbro sculpt right up. So I've got the sort of visual encyclopedia here. I've looked at quite a few pictures online. I've used the new sideshow, or have used that as a reference, but also the Hot Toys as well, sort of as reference as well. And a lot of the details that are missing are actually in the helmet itself. And even though as much as incredible as it looks to begin with, as soon as you sort of start looking and cross-referencing, it's like these little parts here, they're a little bit out of place. Different paints are missing over certain areas, and obviously the figure is very bland, but also it has all these sculpt parts in there which you can't really see from the first output. So we're just going to go through, we're going to really bring him up and really bring him in line with all the rest of the customs as well. So I guess let's go with it. So what we're going to start off with, we're going to start with the helmet. This is the place where it's going to use the most of the actual paint applications that we're going to have to use. There's a lot of paint missing and different colours, so these should be more of a biscuit digestive colour. There's a little ring circling around just the top of the visor there. It should actually be a bit of more of an orangey colour than these parts here. We've got the ear parts that are missing, and if you can see, my blue strips are slightly over printed as well, so we can actually neaten that up as well. On the side, it's not too bad on here, it just needs a bit of weathering it. On the back, this should be more of an imperial kind of colour, you know, like the grey that we got on the trim here. The black trim is actually also missing as well around the back. And these orange strips, we're going to have to acetone these off, replace them with new ones, because they're just really far away from the actual outlet. They should be down here and they're more round, but they're actually more towards the inner nose. And at least a little part away from the actual end. So just started off with a Q-tip and just put some acetone on top of it. You just need to apply some pressure, not too much but enough, in circular motions. However, I did notice that the colour of the orange was bleeding onto my figure, which isn't too bad. It's not to get worried about because we are going to weather him very heavily. And also, it's just a small area that we can actually repaint. I tried acetone on the blue strip, but unfortunately it was a little bit too much in the groove, so I gave up. So I went to the white paint just to get rid of that orange kind of glow there, just to do a white wash over it. And also with that blue kind of bit in the strip, I just put the white paint over the top of that. It was a simple fix. So next up, we're going to paint the helmet on the top. So I painted the top with that biscuit colour that you see now on my book. I've already done the top of the helmet. It does need another coat though, as the grey was coming through. And obviously we just used this orange part as well, just to go around that very small trim around on the outside. Just taking it very slow, very nice and neatly. The size of the brush I have is a 00, normally using for like doing eyeballs and whatnot, but it's so precision. Doesn't hold a lot of paint, so you're not going to get a lot of spill. It just works really well. So to the front of the helmet, what you can notice that I've actually just used the size of the brush just to do the extra little lines on there. And then once all the lines are in place and I'm happy, just started turning them into slight triangles, just like little tips and little points, with using the brush just to thicken them up just slightly as going around to make them as symmetrical as possible. And I think, yeah, it done the trick and it looked pretty cool. So now onto the grey, just a few extra little parts on the helmet itself. So I did that ear side and I did the back, just painted it into that colours there, and then just using a basic black, just filling in that black trim around on the back of the helmet, which is fine. Also on the other ear, I didn't paint it in the video, I did it at the very end. I just sort of painted the other sort of antenna ear part, just the same colour of the grey that I painted on the other ear. So these bits are a little bit of a bug of me. I just paint the pegs black because I can't stand the white. It just makes the figure look more symmetrical and just sort of falls in line when you start posing them for pictures as well. Here I just got the cocktail stick and I'm just slightly taking away what I've overbled on the black paint and stuff like that, but we're not going to worry too much about it. It can be a bit messy, can be a bit chipped, because we're going to weather this figure, so never feel like you have to get it really correct, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day, we're going to weather him. So another little detail, if you look at your Cody figure, there's a little square missing at the bottom of his mouthpiece. Just below that grey, it's like a little square cut out. That needs to be grey as well. With the black brush or black paint, just slightly fill in those scratches on his chest. Don't go too much, don't go overkill, because the black wash will actually bring these out a bit later, but this just adds that depth at the moment. And then the last little details on his antenna, there's like a little blue line, so we're just filling that in. And also on his badge, the leftish side, the one that's further inside, is purple. Right, so that's all the main painting done. So what we're going to do now is just use one of these white jelly pens to go around to do all the sort of white marks and stuff on his armour. So doing this, there is many ways of doing chip-ins. A lot of people have different things and it's just down to your own preference. You can use paint, you can use other stuff to take away the actual paint itself, but I use these pens and so far it's been fine. And if you do too much, just lick your finger and you can actually wipe it off straight away. There's going to be no problems with making mistakes. Sometimes you might have to just rub the nib on another bit of paper just to get the ink going again, because it can dry out on the plastic itself. But yeah, just use things for references. I have loads of visual merchandise kind of books and stuff like that that I use for references. Go on Google, search up Sideshow, search up Hot Toys. Just look at the chip-ins, look at the bits where they are, or just even think of the sides, you know, and stuff like that. And then you'll be absolutely on your way. And soon the figure will be taking shape and looking even more realistic. So now we're going to go for a black wash. Now I have a pot that's just full of water with a tiny little bit of black acrylic in there, only a small amount. So basically what we're going to do, we're just going to spread this over the figure. I have a special brush for this. A lot of people again use different techniques, but this brush is just hard as nails. It's got a few little bits on the end that are a little bit soft, which leave a nice kind of drag mark when I do the black wash itself. And we're just simply going to just pull it over the areas, add some shading, and hopefully it's going to look really cool. So again, with the black wash, just highlight those scratches on there, just get it on there, make sure you do dab that down. We don't want too much black paint sprawling over the figure. You can use your finger to wipe away excess paint, you can use a sponge, you can just use a towel or a tissue just to get rid of it. I kind of like working it so the actual brush is almost dry. I use it, if it's got a lot of paint on there originally, I'll go around the figure just adding those extra black dots, and as I keep doing that it's going to get less and less on the brush, and then it ends up to like a stage of shadowing, and then I'll go around on the actual figure, always bringing it on the torso, trying to bring it in line so it highlights places. So if you're going to start taking photos, it's a bit like a character from a cartoon. You've got the edges and stuff are more highlighted, and it looks like shadow under the arm and etc. And just weather over the top, make sure you get those high ends, the edges, the dark areas that's not going to really get much, so in the groin area underneath the dirty parts around on the armour, especially in the grooves on the legs, on the backpack, right in those creases and areas. So yeah, go for it, don't go too much. Again, use the references in the books, pictures and etc. You can go dirty as much as you like. I kind of still like keeping it as kind of clean but dirty at the same time. So it's all down to you. It's all just general preference, what you prefer. Just go for it and, you know, just see what your outcome is. My preference for weathering has changed many years over the years, or many times over the years, shall we say. First of all, I didn't even like weathering. Then I added these extra little things, a bit of dusting in certain areas. Now I kind of have a happy medium, I think. And this is as much weathering as I would do. Don't worry about going over those white bits that you've added on the armour as well. It just adds to that. It's just dirt. So it's a bit of carbon scoring all over your figure, and it will slowly take over. Take your time doing the weathering. Let it dry a little bit. Go for a little bit more. Let it dry. Don't keep adding and adding, because it will eventually get on your fingers and become even more of a mess. So just take your time. So here he is, all completed and weathered, and I think it really brings out that Hasbro sculpt with all those extra details that they put in, but unfortunately I don't get time to do. So we just kind of give them a bit of a helping hand, and yeah, I think it's really paid off. So we've got some extra paints on here. We had to remove their sort of factory printing and do our own here. The little markers on there just brings that extra detail in as well. Reference wise, look at some visual merchandising kind of sort of stuff, Google cosplayers and whatnot, and again, because it's a CGI model, there's not really anything out there. There's always slightly a bit different. Some make these a lot darker, like a coppery, some are the grey, some they keep it white, some are silver, or this kind of imperial grey as well. So yeah, I mean, just go across, cross-reference what you prefer. It doesn't really matter, but you know, someone will probably pick out and go, oh, it's not supposed to be like that, but it's what we see, unfortunately. On here, I've just done an extra little marker inside there because there is a little blue kind of marker here. This little badge part here is actually purple, if we look at the badge and stuff as well. So yeah, it's just, you know, just bringing those extra little details really highlight, and that black wash brings out those little gouges in his armour just right out there, almost making him as good as a hot toy, maybe. But yeah, I'm really proud of him. He's pretty cool, and he can now fit with the rest on the shelf and not looking too shiny, and represents Cody as from Revenge of the Sith. So that kind of brings this video to a close. What do you think of these series? I kind of might do Han Solo next, because I think he needs a blue coat. And do you like me talking through the video? Does it give you a little bit of inspiration? Would it help you create your own? If not, just let me know in the comments down below what you prefer, and we can go from there. And also, you can subscribe and ding that bell so you don't miss the next episode. And if you would like to follow me a little bit more, in the description you can find my Instagram. So until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.